You're watching the Varsity Media Sports Network, the home for New York high school sports. The Long Island Lacrosse Showcase has been the premier recruiting event in the nation for over a decade. Led by high school coaches in Nassau and Suffolk counties, our event annually draws the biggest and best college coaches. Past participants and MVPs have been Joey Spallina, Mac O'Keefe, and Xavier Arline. Registration is now open for this must-attend summer event. Register now at lilacshowcase.com and follow us on Instagram at lilacshowcase. And coming this fall, for the first time, our Girls Showcase.
Are you a local business looking to advertise? Well, Varsity Media is the perfect place for you. We offer affordable rates both inside our live stream broadcast and through our social media channels. With coverage all over Long Island targeting the 16 to 54 demographic, why not take advantage and advertise today? For pricing and inventory availability, contact us today at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Thank you for joining us live from Mount Sinai High School, a pivotal inter-county showdown between two perennial Long Island powers. Mount Sinai comes in the defending Suffolk County champions and doing just fine in the post-Joey Spallina era, undefeated and ranked 15th in the nation. Mike Draper's Massapequa Chiefs have taken their lumps against one of the country's toughest schedules, but come in riding high off a 7-5 win over their rival Syosset. Mustangs and Chiefs collide right now on the Varsity Media Sports Network. And a reminder that I'm Gavin Shaw alongside my partner, Dave Franklin, former Jericho High School, Emory University, and Israeli national team midfielder. And today's game is brought to you by DeVito Insurance Agency, your one-stop shop for all your insurance needs. Visit DeVitoAgency.com to learn more. And Dave, this should be a fantastic game today. High stakes, Mount Sinai looking to stay undefeated on the year. And Massapequa, they're looking to notch a signature win after previously struggling against top-notch competition.
It's always interesting when you have a cross-county matchup like this in the mid-season part of the year. As you said, Mount Sinai's trying to defend a undefeated record, but at the end of the day, their end goal is the state C championship, to the extent that maybe this game has a little bit less importance in that regard. Massapequa, again, one of the nation's toughest schedules, trying to find an identity at the face-off game and try to become more potent offensively, so this should be a really good test for both of these teams.
And a look at our players to watch for Massapequa: Patrick Radomski, son of former head coach Tim Radomski, an elite IQ and the physical attributes to match.
Last year, Coach Draper felt as though that Radomski and Michael Jernin were more passive in their offensive approach, looking to be off-ball shooters. Especially Radomski, he's elevated his game, taking more initiative, dodging to the goal, finding the alley, and he's been dominant so far this year.
And then on the defensive side of the ball, we'll go a little inside baseball. You and I were having a debate about who to make the impact guy for Massapequa. You think Jack Schiffle's going to make a big impact on this game?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of a homer call as an LSM myself, but Jack Schiffle really is a difference maker for Massapequa. Again, they struggle to have consistency at the face-off stripe. Schiffle's able to get in there, make things scrappy, and he's actually a really talented takeaway defenseman. He gave Syosset a lot of trouble earlier this week.
And then for Mount Sinai, it's going to be a pair of Syracuse commits and a pair of twins, Jake Spallina, Brett Spallina. If the last name's familiar, good reason. The younger brothers of the number one player in America last year, Joey Spallina, but these two have done enough to step out of their older brother's shadow.
No question about it. Jake Spallina, a true throwback two-way midi. He takes face-offs, he plays offense, he plays defense, and Brett Spallina, very much like his uncle Brian, is a great roaming defender. He starts at the LSM position, he'll be on the wing, he'll interchange and play close defense when Mount Sinai has offensive possessions. Really exciting weekend for the Spallina family. Joe's coaching the women's team against Towson at Stony Brook. Mom Mary Beth is watching Joey as the Orange take on Virginia in Charlottesville, and Alexa the sophomore here at Mount Sinai, is here to support her twin brothers in this game against Massapequa today.
An awesome season for both of them. They are committed to Syracuse for a reason. And now let's take a look at the starting lineup for Massapequa. And this is a team, Dave, you might not know it based on their 4-4 record, but you got to take into account the competition. Extremely high expectations coming into this season, returning a whole lot of talent from a team that was upset in the semifinals in Nassau Class A year ago.
With Massapequa, I really think a lot of power is in their midfield. Will Burney and Aiden Christie are very talented players. Aiden Christie might be one of the fastest players in the county. Will Burney has shown what he could produce end-to-end, and we'll see the impact that they could have out here today on the road in Suffolk County.
And a defensive group, right, that boasts a lot of returning talent. Ryan Fountain, Ryan Wieserak, Kevin Fiola. They are extremely good, and they are angry at how this year has started. They're ready to go. And then for Mount Sinai, I mean, not quite the same depth that they had a year ago. A lot of guys graduating, and yet you look at this starting lineup, and the frontline talent is still just ridiculous.
Cole Marsala, Nick Coretta, and Lucas LaForge, a really great attack unit. 2 Division I commits there, with Marsala going to Quinnipiac and LaForge going to Michigan. We spoke about the Spallina brothers. Christian Cole Antonio might be one of the most creative midfielders in Suffolk County. And as you said, a little bit beat down from last year, but a lot of talent on this year's roster.
All right, so we'll step aside. Big Nassau-Suffolk matchup. Massapequa, Mount Sinai next on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media.
The Long Island Lacrosse Showcase has been the premier recruiting event in the nation for over a decade. Led by high school coaches in Nassau and Suffolk counties, our event annually draws the biggest and best college coaches. Past participants and MVPs have been Joey Spallina, Mac O'Keefe, and Xavier Arline. Registration is now open for this must-attend summer event. Register now at lilacshowcase.com and follow us on Instagram at lilacshowcase. And coming this fall, for the first time, our Girls Showcase.
Now is the time to order a college recruiting video with Varsity Media. College recruiting videos can save thousands of dollars on college tuition and help land a spot on the team. Our videos include your best plays set to music with spot shadowing effects to help you stand out from the competition. Contact Varsity Media today and mention this ad to save 15%. Call 516-403-2050 or email jeff@varsitymedia.net.
You're watching the Varsity Media Sports Network, the home for New York high school sports.
So about to get rolling from Mount Sinai High School, and this opening face-off, one of the pivotal battlegrounds in this game, Dave Franklin. Jake Spallina on the year at 67%. Aiden Stanton, he's young, his first year starting, improving only at 41%. And there's Spallina getting the initial win, but then Massapequa able to come up with the ground ball.
As we spoke about in the open, here you have Jack Schiffel getting involved, picking up ground balls, making an even game. And now we have the other LSM. Oh, that might be a bad turnover. A lot going on here to start.
Yeah, Ryan Wieserak couldn't keep the ball, and instead it's Lucas LaForge pumping and scoring less than 30 seconds into this one. The Michigan commit tacks on his 23rd goal of the season.
Scrappy way to start the game, a little bit of a dirty face-off. Jack Schiffel had the initial possession after he dislodged the ball from Spallina. Brett Spallina picked up the ball, sloppy pass in the middle on the turnover, and LaForge was there to cash in.
And this, we didn't get a chance to get to our keys to the game, but one of mine personally was for Massapequa to get off to a fast start. We've seen them have these slow opening to games and then never able to recover. Seemingly they had, and now we take a look at that goal by Lucas LaForge as there's a tie-up on the face-off here.
Forge did a good job capitalizing on that turnover, getting inside, seeing that he had an advantage and found his way past Gielli and was able to hit that layup to start the game.
And great fight by Jake Spallina. And you talk to Mount Sinai head coach Harold Drum. I mean, he'll emphasize for Spallina those face-off wins aren't always necessarily the cleanest, but he has a tenacity like no one else in Suffolk County and maybe all of Long Island.
See, Mount Sinai slows things down there. Really interesting. So Jake Spallina faces off with a different stick that he'll use the field with. So ultimately, they actually keep the stick in the hand of Nick Coretta. Nick Coretta gives Spallina his stick back. Nick Coretta quickly goes to the box to get his stick, and that's kind of how Mount Sinai has to pace things out in order to get their personnel and their equipment in check.
And it's almost emblematic, right, of the lack of depth on this team. And granted, like, those are all guys that are going to be on the field anyways, but it gives you an idea of this team that's this elite national program, and they kind of have to, I mean, maybe that's just a personal preference for Spallina. You can tell me if I'm off the mark here, but it feels almost representative of their lack of depth.
And again, whenever you have a face-off guy who's going to play both ends of the fields, that stick exchange is important. Face-off sticks are more flimsy. They don't throw very well, so you have to figure out a way to get your face-off man the right weapon.
LaForge uses a screen, fires high, backed up that time by Cole Marsala. And Marsala is playing such an elevated role this season. Last year, more of a scorer, played off of Joey Spallina, occasionally a secondary creator. This year, he's the point guard, second in all of Suffolk County in assists, but he can also do that. A question mark dodge into a heater of a shot, and he beat Matt Giannata high.
Hard save for Gennady to make there. As you said, Cole Marsala did a great job going to the goal. Massapequa was going to take a timeout here and try to resettle things, but the Quinnipiac commit does a great job off the restart, squaring up against Kevin Fiola, makes a nice dodge, and as you said, off the spin move, finds a little bit of separation and scores high on Gennady.
All right, and now let's take this initial timeout to get a look at our keys to the game for Massapequa. They haven't been able to accomplish the first one so far, possessing the ball and tiring out a Mount Sinai team that, to your point, not super deep, and also in a non-league game, not necessarily wanting to wear this team out.
Yeah, so again, Coach Draper taking a timeout here because they're way off from their first key. They haven't been able to possess. They're playing into Mount Sinai's game, letting them take settled offensive possessions and really not taking advantage of 50-50 ground balls and first-time ground balls, which Coach Draper spoke about as well.
I mean, that initial face-off, right? That's kind of the ultimate example of it right off the bat. And then for Mount Sinai, we said it, get off to a hot start. They don't want to use that depth. They want to get a chance maybe to get some of those bench guys in. They're well on their way up 2-0, a little over 2 minutes into this ball game.
Yeah, had a great start to the game. Again, Brett Spallina and Jack Schiffel were going head-to-head in that long stick midi battle to get that first face-off. Spallina threw it towards the middle. Massapequa was unable to pick it off, and then LaForge was able to get Mount Sinai their first goal there. So, again, when we look at these keys, everything is going right for Mount Sinai so far, and Massapequa really needs to get reorganized here.
And look, there doesn't have to be an issue because Mount Sinai is just that kind of team offensively, but what are you seeing, if anything, in terms of where Massapequa is struggling on defense right now?
I think they're just doing a good job of finding matchups.
And they might have another one here. Spallina on no one. That's a matchup Mount Sinai is going to win every time. The face-off man takes it himself and scores, and man, what a luxury that is to have a face-off guy who's also the type of offensive talent that Spallina is.
And again, in that situation, he doesn't have the opportunity to change his stick and change his weapon like we were talking about before. He just has to make it and take it and go to the goal and score with his secondary weapon, but you see that Massapequa was going to make a change here, called that timeout, gave up a goal right off the face-off, so Ryan Fountain's going to come in to mix it up against Spallina as Aiden Stanton's been struggling.
Yeah, but Fountain on the season, I will double-check and confirm the stat, but I believe 0 for 6 on the year at face-off, so that is a heck of a challenge.
Make it 0 for 7.
Yeah, against Jake Spallina. And man, this Massapequa team's so curious, right? Because you look at their game against Chaminade, which is a team at least on Mount Sinai's level, and they played a great game against us, 15-9, very competitive throughout. But then they've had other ones like against the Staples, who's another national program out of Connecticut, where they've really struggled as Gennady gets the save, but then LaForge dives in to scoop up the ground ball, and it'll be going the way of Massapequa on perhaps a crease infraction that time on LaForge.
I think LaForge might have stepped in the crease as he was going across there. Good first save by Gennady. And Mount Sinai really powerful on this ride.
Yeah, just vicious on him. And you were talking to me coming into the game about Massapequa maybe employing a 10-man ride. Obviously, we haven't had a chance to see if that's part of the strategy, but it's Mount Sinai overwhelming with their physicality, though that was great work that time from Ryan Wieserak, the football star, to get it up the field.
This is a really important possession for Massapequa, really their first offensive set. They really need to give their defense a breather and start to chip away again at this shallow Mount Sinai depth.
Yeah, and what's been so crucial for this Massapequa team not completely falling apart during some of those blowout games is just the composure of Matt Giannotti in net, a guy who never really seems to get phased, even when he's getting bombarded by shots.
He played fantastic in that Syosset game. He made some NHL 96 style saves.
Wow, that is the highest compliment possible. And again, we noted for Massapequa, just a variety of threats on offense. Is not necessarily any one guy. Michael Durnan, Aiden Christie, Patrick Radovsky can all beat you in different ways.
It's really about who has the hot stick, who's willing to take the initiative. Again, on both sides of the ball, they've struggled on the road, so we'll see where they could strike first here.
And an area of improvement for Massapequa, according to Mike Draper, is their ability to play a little two-man game, guys getting more vocal about how and where and when they want screens, and just developing more cohesion as they try to get their spacing right. That time off the mark, looking for the freshman Tyler Burns was Durnan, and Mount Sinai will have it back.
Good team defense there by Mount Sinai. Kind of had Massapequa force that pass, and they'll get possession. I was really impressed with Brett Spallina, again, showing how freely he could move. Once Radomski showed a little bit momentum, he was able to recover back to his guy. And Mount Sinai, again, was able to hold strong. And
we'll get into it as we go along, but this was a Mount Sinai team that some people expected to at least take a small step back from a group that went 18-1 undefeated until falling in the Long Island Championship game to eventual state champion Manhasset, because it wasn't just Joey Spallina, maybe the best high school lacrosse player the last 5 to 10 years. They lost a bunch of other guys who are now playing high-level college ball, and they look just fine as that shot's off the mark from Cole Marsala.
Really good look there by Christian Cole Antonio to find Marsala cross crease. And listen, sometimes teams do go into a funk when they graduate the number one recruit in the nation. I remember when Matt Danowski graduated from Farmingdale in 2003. They struggled the next year in 2004, and
oh, what a one-timer, the connection between Marsala and a cutting Nick Coretta.
And on cue, Mount Sinai, again, is just here to show that despite the fact that they lost Joey Spallina, they have weapons in their arsenal. They want to compete for a Class C title, and really showing what they're made of today, up 4-0 in the first quarter. Yeah, and again, this is such a pivotal game for Mount Sinai as we get another look at that goal. And we mentioned it, Marsala taking over that Spallina role of point guarding from X and excelling in it so far this year. Spallina, a great goal scorer, but really known more for his assist game. I think there was a game last year where he had 9 assists. As you said, somebody just has to step up and take over that quarterback position. And Spallina continues to just dominate this game at X. LaForge, no hesitation, just firing freely. And Giannotti was in decent position. That went off the mark, but Mount Sinai again has the backup and keeps the ball up by 4, less than halfway through this opening quarter. And look at Brett Spallina here playing offense with the long pole right here on the wing. So everyone getting a chance to get involved for Mount Sinai. Maybe Harold Drum as his last and final non-league game, using this opportunity for a little bit of experimentation. Well, in this situation, they kept him on the field offensively so he could sub through the midfield line and get realigned there. So it was maybe a little bit of a decoy. He kind of showed that he was going to set a pick. But, again, Mount Sinai up 4 goals, wanting to take care of their players and keep them healthy, pacing their offense in this set. Cole Antonio tagged by Ryan Fountain. He's Massapequa's top one-on-one defender. LaForge using the screen, trying to get middle, get his hands free, ducking in, untouched, and a bouncer beats Giannotti for the 5th Mustangs goal. LaForge is doing a great job of finding the inside alley. He scored his first goal off the turnover in similar fashion. Here a little bit more of a settled situation. You see Cole Antonio is the spark plug. Moves it around. Again, great off-ball look at a nice finish there on the last goal that Mount Sinai scored. LaForge, a Michigan commit, the highest-ranked player on either team in this game, according to Inside Lacrosse, the 41st best player in the class of 2024 as we get one more look at that goal. Here we see LaForge again. He turns the corner and then gets inside. Massapequa just kind of lets him slip through. Does a good job of keeping control of his stick to finish it off. Man, Spallina Jake specifically continues to dominate at faceoff. And look, this is a Massapequa program, right, that has a rich tradition at that spot. I mean, you rewind 3-4 years ago, Angelo Petrakis, the number 1 faceoff guy in the country, came through Massapequa, and they have just struggled a bit to replace him since. That being said, they are really high on Aiden Stanton, and they loved the performance he gave against
Scarsdale's Colby Baldwin, who's heading to Penn State, and they feel like Stanton played him pretty even. But today against Bellina just hasn't had it, and Ryan Fountain hasn't either.
Yeah, Stanton's actually gone up against a lot of the top face-off men in the country. You mentioned his competition against Scarsdale, Spallina, one of the best in the game, so he'll be battle-tested going into 2024.
Yeah, and into the Class A playoffs, and Gennady, man, he's been plenty battle-tested, denying Marsala that time, but a little erratic on the outlet. Marsala saw the open net for a sec, now will retreat to X, play make from there. Time and space, the step down goes off the crossbar that time. For Christian Colantonio is the hardest shot on this team. Charging back the other way, Will Burney. He's a heck of an athlete.
Good bounce there for Massapequa. Burney was able to pick it up in space and get this important possession for the Chiefs. I don't really know why Gennady rushed that clear. He made a good save. I think he probably had a little bit of enthusiasm and wanted to spark it quick. But, again, Mount Sinai is doing a great job of riding the ball today.
Yeah, maybe that was part of the urgency to try to beat the ride before they could even get set.
Exactly.
Again, Massapequa, plenty of offensive talent. They did have some big losses from a year ago. Guys like Vin McDermott, who's now at Hofstra, Anthony Malika, now at Hofstra. McDermott in particular, I mean, you talked to Mike Draper, that's a guy he feels like they miss quite a bit.
He was a big impact player for them last year. And much like Mount Sinai has to fill Joey Spallina's role, that's a replacement that Massapequa needs to make as well.
And Tyler Burns that time releasing without a lot of backup. Burns, a very promising freshman. Perhaps the next great one in this Massapequa program is the Chiefs, trying to apply some pressure on the ride themselves. And it's on Colantonio to break through. It does so with ease. LaForge, jump shot. You could tell LaForge, it's almost like a shot bingo card at this point. He's trying to check everything off.
Definitely throwing a lot of different weapons out of his arsenal here at this Massapequa defense early in the game.
It's a golden opportunity for a lot of these guys on Mount Sinai because last year, and to be clear, like there was no resentment of this because everyone acknowledged that it was the best path for them to win, but they were so reliant on Joey Spallina, and everyone's had a bit more of an opportunity to show what they could do as Massapequa breaks the other way after forcing the turnover. Durnan, Burns, a fake. Burns had space for a second, but that was an excellent recovery for Mount Sinai by Dimitri Budis.
Good recovery there by Burns. Had an opportunity to take a shot, hesitated a little bit, maybe showing a little bit of freshman jitters, but Massapequa really fortunate to recover.
It looked like a golden opportunity for him as Radomski will slow things down. Radomski and Durnan both so savvy, two of the smarter players to come through this Massapequa program.
Good matchup for Radomski against the short stick here.
Burns doubled, gets it out. Powerful shot, but off the mark from Aiden Christie.
Nice extra look there by Burns, but again, this kid has to pull the trigger faster.
Yeah.
That's the second time in a row where he really did have enough space to get a shot off in good range, but again, he defers. Really want to see number 36 let one loose.
Yeah, he's 6'4", and for a freshman, I mean, that one, ridiculous height. Two, he packs a lot of power already, according to Mike Draper. Radomski doubled. They get it inside, but Gargiulo can't quite handle it. Battle for the ground ball, and Mount Sinai going to win it initially, but Radomski picks off the clearance attempt. So numbers for Massapequa. Middle shot, and it's saved by Braden Wilkin. The first time he's had to show his talent, stopping Michael Durnan at point-blank range.
I would say that both teams are struggling on the clear here. That was a good opportunity by Massapequa.
Now Radomski will uncork one. Wilkin getting low to stop it. Rebound skids out, and racing away with it is Shea Malahi. Oh, what a juke by Malahi. And stoppage in play. Timeout taken by Massapequa. Or excuse me, by Mount Sinai. So we will step aside, or rather, we'll keep it right here with Mount Sinai up 5-0 as they get another stop of Massapequa, finally getting at least a little bit of rhythm offensively there.
They did get some rhythm offensively, but Wilkin just showed who he is, making 2 really good first saves there. Again, really talented goalie, versatile out of the cage as well, in addition to his shot-stopping ability. He'll be playing at LIU for Jordan Levine next year, where he'll, of course, be a teammate of Ryan Fountain.
And a reminder that this Varsity Media Sportscast brought to you by DeVito Insurance Agency, your one-stop shop for all your insurance need. You can visit DeVitoAgency.com for more information. And Mount Sinai now a chance to extend this lead. 1:23 left in the quarter. I mean, if you're Mike Draper, what are you saying that Massapequa huddle when, again, maybe you have a little bit of momentum from finally having an offensive stretch, but in another sense, almost more discouraging. You possess the ball, get a couple good shots, still can't find a goal.
I mean, they're coming out of this timeout on defense, so I think you kind of have to take things one play at a time. Looking at Mount Sinai's huddle here, I think that they're ultimately looking to end this quarter strongly. I think they want to end the quarter with a shutout. They shouldn't have to rush with 90 seconds on the clock. I think that they're going to find a matchup, slow things down, let their defense relax a bit, let Wilkin finish the quarter with a shutout and 2 strong saves there and take that momentum going into the second period.
Yeah, and you got to look inside Harold Drum's huddle. I mean, he's just been fantastic since taking over this Mount Sinai program 12 years ago, winning Suffolk County in 2015, 2021, 2022. And a guy who had a long-time connection with the Spallina family specifically, played with Joey's uncle Brian on the New York Lizards, and he went to college with Spallina's mom, Mary Beth, at UMass, where he was an All-American.
Again, a little bit of a sloppy clear. Have the pull in the offensive end. Now you have a minute left on the clock. I think that we'll see Jafaris exchange here, and Mount Sinai will have one last go at the goal, or a couple.
It's funny watching Marsalo, the way he just jogs across from X. It does, you do kind of get flashbacks to Joey Spallina. I mean, like that same type of confidence that he can create something out of thin air, doesn't feel rushed, very meticulous, very conscientious, and just that inherent ability to manipulate a defense and get guys open.
Has a high lacrosse IQ, good field vision, very much like his quote-unquote predecessor, Spallina. And again, he's done a good job of stepping up and owning that role this year.
Yeah, and again, that's an unfair comparison in the sense that I think Spallina, what did he finish last year with, like 88 assists or something along those lines? But again, halfway through this season, Marsala leading, or rather second in all of Long Island with 24.
Looks like we have a moving screen there on Mount Sinai. So Massapequa will have an opportunity to control the last 10 seconds of this first quarter.
Yeah, so 11 seconds left. I mean, what's the approach? Are you just trying to throw it long, or are you just trying to hold on to the ball?
Looks like they're trying to get it upfield as fast as possible. That is a push from behind. That will definitely be a penalty on Cole Marsalo. That's a good way to start the second quarter for Massapequa.
Yeah, and credit to Connor Enright baiting the penalty. Nice job on clearance. So Massapequa,
they'll hold on to the ball here so they could start the second quarter with possession. When you're man up or you're man down, if you possess to end a period, you'll ultimately control the ball going into the next quarter. So Radomski is just going to hold this for 1.5.
So they'll go on the whistle. And that'll do it for quarter number 1. A dominant one for Mount Sinai. Lucas LaForge, the Michigan commit, leading the way with 2 goals as Mount Sinai dominating this Nassau-Suffolk affair here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media.
Varsity Media offers live sportscasts for any event. Our productions include announcers, multiple camera angles, graphics, instant replay, and so much more.
Hankinson getting it back. Hankinson going in, dropping it back. The shot of the goal! That's it! That's it! Norton! Pittsburgh, the Class A champions!
If you want to enhance your event or make the experience better for your viewers, reach out to Varsity Media today and learn more about our live sportscast. Contact Varsity Media at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Talking about this indigenous thing.
So a 5-0 lead for Mount Sinai after a quarter of play. And for Massapequa, I mean, a little bit of deja vu given some of their games earlier this season. The phrasing, this is not, to be clear from me, this is from Mike Draper, just certain games where he feels like they didn't get off the bus, losing 17-7 to Bayport Blue Point, 17-5 against Staples, and at least initially it feels like another one of those outings for Massapequa, granted against a great team.
Well, when I first saw Coach Draper this morning, I asked him how what the vibe was coming off the bus. He said, well, I feel fine. We had some tunes bumping. But, yeah, they've struggled on the road. Again, this is a really important possession to start the second quarter with a man advantage.
Massapequa getting off 2 quality looks in that first quarter, both of them stopped by Braden Wilkin, the returning starter in net for Mount Sinai.
So you see Mount Sinai playing a box defense here and completely shutting off Aiden Christie behind the goal. Jake Splina has him locked up. He's a non-factor. This is 5-on-4 lacrosse.
It's a touch pass and a rip and a score. Michael Durnan gets the goose egg off the board for Massapequa.
Number one gets number one. Good strategy there by Massapequa to allow Aiden Christie to be cut off. Again, he is has more weapons as it relates to his mobility and his speed. So when you have the extra man, move it around. Happy to take Jake Spolino off the defensive side of the ball with the short stick. Again, put Mount Sinai in a 4-man long pole rotation. They're able to get ahead of them, and Michael Durnan sticks one top corner.
And now the question for Massapequa, can they get their first face-off win of the game? Not this time. Spolina, center, snaps it back, and racing away with it, Shea Malahi. Popped out. Oh, what a defensive play. A magic trick that time for Ryan Fountain.
Ryan Fountain and Wilkin will be teammates next year at Long Island University. It was interesting to see.
Oh, man, that's a sloppy turnover for Massapequa.
Turnover there. Massapequa using their third face-off man, Jack Prenente, took that draw. So, again, just still trying to figure out where their identity is there and how they could break Jake Spolino.
Yeah, and Ricky Geyer that time just not able to handle that pass from Gargiulo. And, look, Mount Sinai's done a lot to hurt Massapequa. Massapequa's also done a bit to hurt Massapequa in this game.
Yeah, they're making a lot of mistakes, not capitalizing on those first-time ground balls that Coach Draper talked about. They're not really clearing the ball very well, and Mount Sinai's capitalizing on those mistakes and showing a lot of different paces of play here.
And it feels like Mount Sinai, with that 4-goal lead, maybe snapping out of that NASCAR mode a little bit, perhaps partially strategic in terms of clock drainage, but to your point, Harold Drum made it really clear. He's like, look, we don't want anyone getting hurt in this game. We love playing the non-leagues. It's a great challenge for us, but it is not the same level of paramount importance of winning every single non-league game, given that they only play 2 versus their league schedule.
Yeah, and it's cool that they're undefeated, but my feeling from speaking to Coach Drum is he's not necessarily making that a team goal. They want to win a Class C state title.
Yeah.
This game will have no pending on that. If they go undefeated, it'll be a special story, but they're obviously looking to convincingly pace here as they go to the goal again.
What a move by Marsala, dropping Kevin Fiola, who's a Division I commit in his own right, heading to Quinnipiac, a future teammate of Marsala. So you got to imagine that is going to be a conversation between the two, maybe when they're rooming together next year.
Yeah, one of 2 matchups where opponents will be teammates in college. But, yeah, there's no question about it. Cole Marsala just burned Kevin Fiola there. The defensive Bobcat got exposed.
Yeah, so Bobcat on Bobcat violence. They say that's the worst kind. 6-1 lead for Mount Sinai.
We'll see if Ryan Fountain gets a shot off in this game against Wilkin to see some shark versus shark.
Right, there we go. Oh, man, that's even scarier. Shark on shark. Spolina looking for his second goal, instead leaves it off. And Gennady, a point-blank save that time, able to stop Nick Coretta and deny his second goal.
Yeah, Nick Coretta shot that right into the hands of Gennady. He could have taken a second to throw a fake or get a little bit more placement to finish that off and continue to pile on here.
Man, Marsala's so slippery. Obviously, Quinnipiac, a good school, but you watch Marsala. I mean, I'm not the expert on this, Dave. You are, but I almost feel like he could play at a higher level. Just gets separation so easily.
Very talented player. I think the same thing about Cole Antonio. Maris is getting real 2 special players in Cole Antonio and Dylan Stadler from Syosset, 2 great middies. But, Yeah, I mean, there's only so many spots on D1 rosters, and sometimes these mid-majors get good players from Long Island.
Oh, what a pass that time for Marsala, but Gennady, again, just picking that ball out of the air, denying Cole Antonio.
Cole Antonio was looking for his first goal there.
Oh, a great pass up the field, but then Mount Sinai swarms. Speaking of Sharks, they converge on Jack Gargiulo after a great look that time, I believe, from Aiden Christie.
Massapequa will retain here. They were closest to the ball off the shot, and there was also a loose ball push on Budis. But Mount Sinai had two really good opportunities to extend this lead and made it really easy for Gennady to get some saves there. As they say, shoot where the goalie's not, and Mount Sinai didn't do that on their last two opportunities.
Yeah, and again, I just want to make clear, I mean, that's a credit to Quinnipiac in terms of what we were saying about Cole Marsala, and there's a big credit to Jack Gargiulo, the 6'5" junior, uncorks one from up top. The holy flamethrower makes it 6-2. So Massapequa slowly but surely fighting their footing offensively.
Hard to beat Braden Wilkin high to high, but if you're going to do it, you need to bring the fire like Gargiulo did there. Had a little bit of space. I think that he was actually fortunate that Nick Jafaris was sliding to him, opposed to Brett Spallina, who's a little bit faster to attack the ball, and that extra second gave him an opportunity to make this a 4-goal game.
And that was cool to see, because talking to Mike Draper, I said, you know, what is kind of the one thing Gargiulo's working on in his game? And he said exactly that. He's 6'5", but they want him to leverage that size, get his arms out, and get a better trajectory at 6'5", right? You have that ability to generate a whole lot of torque on your shot. We saw Gargiulo do it there.
Set your feet, use your leverage, fire one down Massapequa Parkway.
Able to do exactly that as Spallina, that time getting the better of Jack Prudente. So no one's had an answer for Jake Spallina so far on Massapequa. 68% on the year. That number is going to rise up based on how this game is going.
And again, you see Nick Coretta take Spallina's stick, give Spallina the weapon of his choice. Coretta will come off. He actually takes the stick that he uses from Enzo Barranca. So, again, a lot of tactical strategy to accommodate Spallina and everything that he does. And, again, it works to Mount Sinai's advantage because it makes their possessions longer.
Yeah, and he's worthy of it, right? He's that kind of weapon. As Malahi's bouncer goes high. Well-positioned was Marsala. Worked back in. Quick shot. Gennady able to get a stick in there. Might have been off the mark anyways from Prudente. Or, excuse me, from Coretta.
Good extra look there by Spallina. And again, Spallina scored a goal off the faceoff with his faceoff stick today. So sometimes the craftsman doesn't need the optimal tools in order to get the job done.
Like, you've really been mixing up the analogies on it. It's great. Gennady denying that one from Marsala. Gennady, after a little bit of a sloppy start, has been excellent in net for Massapequa. Wingate commit in his second year as a starter, makes some of those saves that he shouldn't.
We had a great game last year. You and I called between Massapequa and MacArthur. Matt Paypack from MacArthur was really their main offensive weapon. He's at Wingate, so those two will be teammates next year.
And maybe that's part of his incentive to go there. Hey, I like playing with that guy.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to play against that guy, maybe.
Yeah.
More
If
so.
you can't beat him, join him.
Jack Schiffel, nice recovery, and the ball worked up to Ricky Geyer.
Important to note that Massapequa actually won that game against MacArthur, so not really one of those if you can't beat him, join him situations. But, yeah, probably a guy that
if you barely beat him, join him.
Exactly.
Overtime game, I think 10-9, if I'm remembering correctly. That was a fun one. And Massapequa, I mean, look, they haven't had an opportunity to win a lot of close games last year, or this year rather, but last season, I mean, they had such a knack for coming out ahead in one-goal games until their luck ran out against Syosset. 6-5 loss. Right here on the Varsity Media Sports Network, and that guy had a whole lot to do with it. Patrick Radomski, bully ball down Main Street, and the lead now just 3 for Mount Sinai.
Radomski did a good job of finding a good matchup against the short stick Shea Malahi. Dodged around the perimeter, found a seam, and had a strong finish there. Again, he sets up from one wing, kind of dodges in umbrella fashion, threw a nice fake to throw Malahi off a little bit and cause that hesitation, which gave him the room to burn by him, and really good placement. Again, you got to shoot it where the goalie's not, and in that situation, he went far side on Wilkin and found the back of the net.
Yeah, and just the size of this Massapequa team really stands out. Radomski, 6'2", 6'3". We mentioned Gargiulo, 6'5". Tyler Burns, 6'4". When they get the ball and they can possess it, just physically they stand out.
Wieserak ain't a small boy either.
Yeah. Brett Spallina, great scoop. And the race ahead from Budis. Had a couple nice moments in this one. And loses the ball here. Thought he still had it, but instead it's Jack Schiffel dispossessing him. And streaking ahead on the break for Massapequa's Geyer. And cut off well by Brett Spallina.
A lot of credit to Schiffel there. Again, we talked about his takeaway abilities. Did a good job of taking that away from Jafaris, who was trying to exchange with the short stick. And really, 6-3 ball game. Massapequa was possessing. 5 minutes left in the second quarter. This is a lot different than it was a little while ago, Gavin.
You give them credit, right? Because that is exactly what Mike Draper has been looking to build on this Massapequa team, that level of resiliency. Radomski looks to bully his way in. Touch pass over, but just slightly off the mark. Will Burney looking to get it down low that time. Geyer couldn't quite handle it.
Not a great pass. That time, Brett Spallina was very fast to slide to Radomski. So, again, when Radomski has that short stick matchup with Malahi, you could expect that number 6 in white will be very, very quick to cover once Radomski is able to get a little bit of space.
And Wilkin a little uncomfortable there, going way out of the cage. LaForge battling to get it and stepping over the line. That time was Dimitri Budis, unless it was a timeout instead before that.
Looks like that might be the case.
Mount Sinai able to get it.
It was funny, before the game, I was able to be by the sideline while both coaches were talking to the referees about calling timeouts in situations like this and getting their attention. But, that was good execution by Coach Drum.
So Harold Drum wanting to gather the troops. Massapequa scored 2 in a row, looking to come back here on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media.
Are you a local business looking to advertise? Well, Varsity Media is the perfect place for you. We offer affordable rates both inside our live stream broadcast and through our social media channels. With coverage all over Long Island targeting the 16 to 54 demographic, why not take advantage and advertise today? For pricing and inventory availability, contact us today at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
And a look inside Mount Sinai's huddle. We just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Nick DeVito once again. He's at the game today, enjoying it. Head of the Nick DeVito Agency, DeVito Insurance Agency. Once again, your one-stop shop for all your insurance needs. Check out all their information at DeVitoAgency.com. So, Dave, we got ourselves a ball game here, 6-3. A little bit of a comeback for Massapequa. It feels like they found their footing. And I think the most important thing, win or lose this game, they prove to themselves that they can fight back in arduous situations.
Yep, definitely a resilient team. Down 5-0, and much different story here with just under 5 in the second half.
And trying to change that, showing a little resiliency of his own. Cole Marsala, a spin, a shot, a score.
You got to think in that timeout, Coach Drum said, hey, we gave them a lot of momentum really fast. We need to take one back. And Cole Marsala wastes no time doing it. Right to the goal, takes the matchup against Weezerak. Spin move, middle is wide open, and he beats Gennady high.
And look, we're talking about Fiola, we're talking about Weezerak. These are Division I athletes, and Cole Marsala is putting them in the turf.
You're absolutely right. Again, when you have Division I defensive talent like this who are getting exposed early in the game, it really speaks to the offensive players they're going up against.
Yeah, and you read my intent there. Well, it wasn't trying to critique the Massapequa guys, just commenting that, man, Marsala, of course, no one is Joey Spallina, but he definitely has something special.
Absolutely fearless, will dodge against anybody. Again, in that situation, right off the whistle, you would think he would at least want to get some sort of rotation, have somebody dodge against the short stick, but he took all the initiative and went right in there headstrong.
So let me ask you something. In that stick switch situation, should there be more of an impetus for Massapequa to apply some extra ball pressure, knowing for at least a second or two they have an extra guy? Or is that a situation where you don't want to lose him coming off the bench and back into the game?
I think in a situation like this, because Mount Sinai could operate so effectively, I think it's like a little bit of a risk for them where if they were to overextend on the ball carrier, it would, again, we've seen how these Mount Sinai attackmen have been taking advantage of defensemen who have been overextending. Right. So I think that in this particular game, Coach Draper just kind of has to let it happen.
And you see Mount Sinai, very similar to Massapequa. They have a real emphasis on their spacing offensively. I mean, you see the way they cleared out for LaForge here. He just has a lot of room to operate. And they make those tight-knit passes, and then they can finish. Jake Spallina, a jump shot. And how about the placement on that one? Top right quadrant.
His father, Joe, talks about how complete of a player he is. He's been dominating the face-off game. He scored a goal off the face-off, but again, an offensive settled situation. No fear here by LaForge as he goes up against Fiola. Finds Spallina open in the middle, and as you said, almost like the picturesque old Lacrosse Unlimited logo where he turns and shoots and torques and, again, is able to beat Gennady high for his second goal of the game.
And then for Lucas LaForge, I mean, that his ability to feed and distribute was not something he got to show off last year, right? Because, of course, it was Spallina getting the bulk of those assists. And the next guy up was Cole Marsala. And LaForge last year, 53 goals, 13 assists. That was already, maybe he had another one earlier this game, but already his 13th assist this season, not even halfway through the year.
There's nothing that's going to make a coach happier when two of his starting attackmen are ultimately more effective in their game dishing the ball than scoring the ball. When you have attackmen who could dodge, draw a man, find the extra player, again, that ultimately makes an offense a lot more dangerous opposed to just going straight to the goal and relying on the dodging game.
And to me, that's kind of what compensates for Mount Sinai's lack of depth in terms of personnel. It's that the guys who do play can all do everything.
Yep, very versatile.
So now Mount Sinai, after a 2-0 run of their own, they can slow things down just a bit.
And going into this game, I thought Cole Antonio was the most versatile player. He hasn't had to do much work today.
No, and a guy who's a special finisher for them as well. LaForge draws the slide and just resets to Cole Antonio. Just a little over 2 minutes to go in this first half. It's a 5-0 start for Mount Sinai. Massapequa got 3 of the next 4. And now 2 straight, nearly 3 on the heater from Spallina, but handling it well again, Gennady. That shot was wide.
Good over-the-top look there by Marsala. Spallina could have fired that a bit earlier. Gennady probably got a piece of that and makes another high-to-high save there. He's really reading those well, Gavin.
Yeah, and how do you feel about that shot from Cole Antonio, right? We talk about, I mean, just how they've gotten so many wide-open looks. That one felt a little more ambitious, though he is the kind of shooter who can make that. And now a push in the back against Mount Sinai, so Massapequa will maintain possession.
Kind of just bad timing there as Brett Spallina was approaching the ball and the Massapequa player was lunging in front of him, but it does give Massapequa an opportunity to get a little bit of momentum back going into the second half. Again, we had a 6-3 ball game. Mount Sinai took 2 goals right back.
Ball moving well for Massapequa, but we noted earlier they need to be a little bit more decisive when they do get those openings because this Mount Sinai defense doesn't give you many. Christie getting to show off that speed. He's had a very quiet first half. Radomski, oh, that was dirty. On the run, bottom right corner of the cage.
That was a really good 2-man play between Christie and Radomski to really take advantage of the way that Brett Spallina moves the field. We talked about this. You saw Brett Spallina extend out there, and then it gave Radomski room in the middle on the switch to ultimately shoot against the short stick and finish off that shot. Again, Brett Spallina is so mobile, carries so much of the field sometimes, and in that situation, if you get him moving too far out of the zone, it could create opportunities on the inside.
And Mike Draper, I mean, that's what he likes offensively, right? A lot of spacing and then the ability to put 2 of your best players in a set, let them operate off each other. And Radomski drew 2 defenders, but by the time he turned and shot, they didn't have a chance to make an impact on the play. Spallina stays undefeated at the face-off X.
Spoke to Joe, his dad, earlier this morning as he was preparing the Stony Brook women's team for their game against Howson, and I asked, what makes Jake so great, his agility, his face-off ability. Again, he has a great pedigree. Joe is, of course, the head coach of the Long Island Lizards in the MLL and had Greg Grunlian, who's arguably the best ever. So he started training Jake as a young kid. He now works with Tom Kelly of the PLL Chaos. And again, he's up at 5 a.m. every morning, lifting weights, going on runs. He just has a motor that doesn't stop. And it'll be interesting to see how Syracuse utilizes him over the course of his 4 years there when himself and his twin brother Brett joined their older brother Joey.
And just a killer competitor as well. I mean, Harold Drum used the phrase that he'll bite your ear to win a face-off, right? It's just a guy who like can lose initially and then just finds a way to get the ball.
He's gritty. It's part of the family pedigree. Doesn't like to lose.
So 10 seconds here for Mount Sinai, trying to tack on one more. That shot too tall for Cole Antonio. Clock stops at 4.2 seconds to go. A little bit more pressure on Mount Sinai to increase that cushion after the second goal for Radomski.
Gennadi's made a lot of high-to-high saves in a row. It might be time for the Mount Sinai shooters to start changing levels.
So clock resets on the board to 6 seconds. Was at 4.2. So that's a little bit more time for Mount Sinai. Marsala goes in, looks for a cutter, instead fires out wide, and no chance for Cole Antonio to get a shot off. So that'll do it for half number one. Pat Radomski getting Massapequa back into the game with 2 goals of his own. Jake Spalina has 2. Lucas LaForge has 2. Cole Marsala, a hat trick for Mount Sinai, looking to stay undefeated. We'll have the second half for you next on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media.
Now is the time to order a college recruiting video with Varsity Media. College recruiting videos can save thousands of dollars on college tuition and help land a spot on the team. Our videos include your best plays set to music with spot shadowing effects to help you stand out from the competition. Contact Varsity Media today and mention this ad to save 15%. Call 516-403-2050 or email jeff@varsitymedia.net.
The Long Island Lacrosse Showcase has been the premier recruiting event in the nation for over a decade. Led by high school coaches in Nassau and Suffolk counties, our event annually draws the biggest and best college coaches. Past participants and MVPs have been Joey Spalina, Mac O'Keefe, and Xavier Arline. Registration is now open for this must-attend summer event. Register now at lilacshowcase.com and follow us on Instagram at lilacshowcase. And coming this fall, for the first time, our Girls Showcase.
Varsity Media offers live streaming, videography, and photography services for all teams and individuals of all ages. In business since 2010, we are the trusted source when it comes to sports media coverage. If you have a big game that needs to be filmed or live streamed, or an athlete in need of action photography, reach out today and save 15% when you mention this ad. Contact us at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net. Lacrosse players, listen up. It's halftime, and you know what that means. It's time to tune up your stick. At String It Up in Huntington, we know a well-strung stick that can make all the difference on the field. That's why we offer fast and reliable stringing services that will have you back in the game in no time. Visit String It Up today at 41 Stewart Avenue in Huntington Village or on the web, www.stringitup.com. Are you and your family looking for a great day of fishing without having to travel too far? Well, Badfish Charters is the place for you. Conveniently located in Huntington Harbor in Huntington, New York, Badfish Charters is fully outfitted with all of the gear you need to have a great day on the water with your friends and family. Each boat is spacious with an enclosed cabin, equipped with all Coast Guard mandated safety equipment, fully licensed and insured. Badfish Charters offers full and half-day fishing charters accommodating groups of up to 6 passengers. To book your next fishing trip, give Kevin a call today at 631-681-4290.
College coaches, it's time to consider Varsity Media to broadcast your games. High school recruits are on Varsity Media with a subscriber base over 50,000 strong. Varsity Media's viewers are your target demographic. What better way to promote your program than by broadcasting your games on the Varsity Media Sports Network? Get an edge up on your competition by showcasing your team in front of Long Island and New York high school players. Our coverage includes announcers, multiple camera angles, instant replay, in-game graphics, in-depth coverage, and so much more. Best of all, viewers watch free, no paywall, and that means more views of your games. Don't delay. Varsity Media is booking for the 2024 season right now. Contact us today by phone at 516-403-2050 or by email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Are you a local business looking to advertise? Well, Varsity Media is the perfect place for you. We offer affordable rates both inside our live stream broadcast and through our social media channels. With coverage all over Long Island targeting the 16 to 54 demographic, why not take advantage and advertise today? For pricing and inventory availability, contact us today at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net. Varsity Media offers live streaming, videography, and photography services for all teams and individuals of all ages. In business since 2010, we are the trusted source when it comes to sports media coverage. If you have a big game that needs to be filmed or live streamed, or an athlete in need of action photography, reach out today and save 15% when you mention this ad. Contact us at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media @Varsity Media.
Now is the time to order a college recruiting video with Varsity Media. College recruiting videos can save thousands of dollars on college tuition and help land a spot on the team. Our videos include your best plays set to music with spot shadowing effects to help you stand out from the competition. Contact Varsity Media today and mention this ad to save 15%. Call 516-403-2050 or email jeff@varsitymedia.net.
The Long Island Lacrosse Showcase has been the premier recruiting event in the nation for over a decade. Led by high school coaches in Nassau and Suffolk counties, our event annually draws the biggest and best college coaches. Past participants and MVPs have been Joey Spallina, Mac O'Keefe, and Xavier Arline. Registration is now open for this must-attend summer event. Register now at lilacshowcase.com and follow us on Instagram at lilacshowcase. And coming this fall, for the first time, our Girls Showcase.
Varsity Media offers live streaming, videography, and photography services for all teams and individuals of all ages. In business since 2010, we are the trusted source when it comes to sports media coverage. If you have a big game that needs to be filmed or live streamed, or an athlete in need of action photography, reach out today and save 15% when you mention this ad. Contact us at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net. Lacrosse players, listen up. It's halftime, and you know what that means. It's time to tune up your stick. At String It Up in Huntington, we know a well-strung stick that can make all the difference on the field. That's why we offer fast and reliable stringing services that will have you back in the game in no time. Visit String It Up today at 41 Stewart Avenue in Huntington Village or on the web, www.stringitup.com. Are you and your family looking for a great day of fishing without having to travel too far? Well, Badfish Charters is the place for you. Conveniently located in Huntington Harbor in Huntington, New York, Badfish Charters is fully outfitted with all of the gear you need to have a great day on the water with your friends and family. Each boat is spacious with an enclosed cabin, equipped with all Coast Guard mandated safety equipment, fully licensed and insured. Badfish Charters offers full and half-day fishing charters accommodating groups of up to 6 passengers. To book your next fishing trip, give Kevin a call today at 631-681-4290.
College coaches, it's time to consider Varsity Media to broadcast your games. High school recruits are on Varsity Media with a subscriber base over 50,000 strong. Varsity Media's viewers are your target demographic. What better way to promote your program than by broadcasting your games on the Varsity Media Sports Network? Get an edge up on your competition by showcasing your team in front of Long Island and New York high school players. Our coverage includes announcers, multiple camera angles, instant replay, in-game graphics, in-depth coverage, and so much more. Best of all, viewers watch free, no paywall, and that means more views of your games. Don't delay. Varsity Media is booking for the 2024 season right now. Contact us today by phone at 516-403-2050 or by email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Are you a local business?
So an 8-4 lead for Mount Sinai, just a minute and a half until the third quarter commences, but we wanted to give you a look at our upcoming schedule here on the Varsity Media Sports Network. It is absolutely loaded this next week. As you take a look, Northport and Connecticut, a game that has some implications, at least in our Varsity Media poll. I believe as of now, Northport, the lone Suffolk team, ranked ahead of Mount Sinai. So Mount Sinai escapes today. Connecticut gets a win over Northport. Maybe Mount Sinai moves up. And then big-time Nassau showdown on Monday, Massapequa, Southside, and then Massapequa, Northport on April 29th. So the challenges don't stop for the Chiefs after today's game. And then, of course, the Woodstick, April 29th, Manhasset, Garden City. Always a good one.
Well, we talked about how Massapequa has one of the toughest schedules in the country. And, the Woodstick Classic is always a fun game here on Long Island.
Yeah, and because of it, have fallen out of our top 16. You can't say the same about Mount Sinai, number 5. There was some good anticipation by our crew. They predicted, I guess, that they would beat Bayport Blue Point, so Mount Sinai staying ahead could jump Northport. Maybe at some point Chaminade, Manhasset, St. Anthony's, they'll get their chance at Manhasset if those two teams keep winning. Obviously, Manhasset knocking off an undefeated Mount Sinai, ranked second in the country a year ago in that Long Island Class C championship game. As we get ready to get back to action here, 12 minutes on the clock to start the third quarter, and Jake Spallina still unbeaten on the day at faceoff.
Jack Prudente has taken the last few faceoffs consecutively for Massapequa, but ultimately it's just been the same result. You got to think that they're keeping Prudente on the field because he's a much better defensive midfielder than Stanton, who, again, just kind of specializes in the faceoff game. So they figure that polling Spallina on the faceoff doesn't work. Their face-off specialist isn't winning, so they might as well just have a D-mid in there who'll be most effective after you pretty much forfeit the face-off to old number 1 in white.
Right, and face-off, again, maybe, Dave, you're the expert. Feel free to disagree. I would posit maybe the most technical position on the field, and with Jake Spallina's work ethic, kind of built to play that type of spot. So Mount Sinai patient, up by 4 goals. It was finished by Pat Radomski with about a minute left in that second quarter that kept Massapequa at least on the periphery of being in this game. An extra pass and a quick stick from Gennady, denying what would have been a point-blank look for Cole Antonio.
Almost tic-tac, though, there by Mount Sinai as Massapequa gets ready on the clear. And we have a flag down behind the play, so the Chiefs will be on the man up and have a free possession here.
Massapequa unable to take advantage of that, or did score on their lone opportunity in the first half of the man up with Aiden Christie basically taking himself out of the play. Lob pass, high shot, high finish. Jack Gargiulo on the board for his second goal.
Second assist for the game for Aiden Christie. Great job of finding the open man, and ultimately Massapequa is having success if they're able to extend Brian Spallina. They're ultimately trying to bait Spallina out so they have an open look on the inside. We saw it before with Brett Spallina, We saw it before with Aiden Christie finding Radomski. This time, Christie finds Gargiulo. And again, Brett Spallina is such a powerful defensive threat. He keeps his head on the swivel. He's fast. He's agile. He covers so much ground. So ultimately, if you're able to extend him out, it will find openings on the inside that Massapequa has started to capitalize on.
And it's such a great matchup, right? Because Christie boasts that same type of speed and maybe the one guy on this team that can bait Brett Spallina in that way. And Brett knows he has to get that head start, has to respect Christie's speed. And in doing so, Christie just gets to pick out one of those tall shooters as Jake Spallina looks for an instant answer and has it. A laser from Jake Spallina. And then you talk about a momentum shift. Massapequa cuts it back to 3 goals, and it takes all of 6 seconds for Mount Sinai to find an answer.
Jake Spallina completes the hat trick, pinch and pop, gets the first time ground ball, goes to the goal. Defense was a little bit slow to slide there. 3rd goal of the game for Jake, and it's the 2nd goal that he scored with his face-off stick. Again, not the optimal stick or weapon of choice that he likes to shoot with. Great response there from Mount Sinai. You saw the energy when he scored that goal, pounding the turf, and Jack Schiffel's going to come to try to square one off here with Jake.
Yeah, so Schiffel's first attempt of the game using that long stick, and Spallina just got under him and baited the infraction.
I don't think Schiffel was even going to the ball. I think he was going right for the stick to try to slash that one up, but the referee was quick to call the infraction, and Mount Sinai will possess regardless, and Howell Drum calls an important timeout as Cole Marsalo is drawing the double team of Ryan Fountain and Ryan Wieserak.
And so this is a Mount Sinai program that has had so much success over the last few years. I mean, you go back to Joey Spallina's freshman season where he became the first freshman on Long Island history to earn All-American, and this team has just dominated Suffolk competition. And Dave, you look at that graphic, and 58-3 is what it all adds up to over the last 4 seasons. And Suffolk Class C is no joke, right? Shoreham Wading River in there.
Sure.
Like year after year, there are top-notch teams, and you look at the domination for Mount Sinai.
Yeah, and again, we talked about their loss in the Long Island Championship last year to Manhasset, and you got to think that it stings for a lot of these guys, especially the Spallina brothers and Braden Wilkins. So, again, their goal is to win a Class C state title. They fell short last year in the Long Island Championship. So, as we discussed, they have an undefeated record. It's not really about being overly dominant. That might be a nice storyline or a cherry on the top at the end of the year, but they're focused on winning a Long Island Championship and a state championship. They don't have a deep bench, but the talent that they do have is truly outstanding, and they're showing that today against a Class A Nassau school like Massapequa. It looks like there will be a little bit of a change in the lineup as Enzo Barranca will see some minutes at attack.
And look, I think a lot of coaches would deny this. Maybe some would acknowledge it, but I do think it's a real thing, particularly at the high school level, the pressure of maintaining an undefeated season. I mean, you look at that graphic in 18-19, right? 17-0, lose to Shoreham Wading River in the championship game, as there's a great bit of defending by Gennady, denying what was a pretty wide-open shot for Cole Marsala. Now, Aiden Christie leading the clearance, but again, some sloppy passing up the field. And Mount Sinai, again, a situation where Massapequa not able to take advantage of an opportunity off a turnover.
Massapequa, again, was man up there, so the reason that Coach Drum called the timeout is they needed to milk that off as they were going to draw a double team regardless. So it was a little bit back and forth. Mount Sinai is able to repossess as the penalty winds out, and Cole Marsala will go right back to work.
And so I was going to note, I mean, I do think sometimes being undefeated can be a bit of a curse, and in that sense, I mean, particularly given how last year ended, and look, obviously Manhasset was one of the best teams in the country last year. That's an upset only in the loosest usage of the term. But with all the hype, Joey Spallina's senior year, I can imagine that Harold Drum would like the idea of having a little bit less pressure on this year's team. And to be clear, that's not something he said to us, but that is my own read on the situation. LaForge double-teamed. Had it knocked away, and a great scoop in traffic from Fiola. So up the field, and now it's Schiffel. Shuffling it over to Jack Prudente.
Finally, a clean clear for Massapequa. Had to use a lot of pole-to-pole action to get that from Fiola to Wieserak to Schiffel, who was able to make the exchange with the offense. Again, if I'm Coach Draper, I'm really not happy that I didn't get a good look at the cage on that last man-up opportunity, so I want to strike early here.
Seen Massapequa slowly find their footing offensively, just didn't have a lot of opportunities in that first quarter. It just felt like goal, face-off win, over and over again for Mount Sinai. When they did get good shots, we saw a lot of that. Braden Wilkin standing on his head, making great save after great save. But late in that second and now early in this third, it feels like they've found a bit of a rhythm on the offensive side of the ball.
They've gotten some key possessions. They've been finding good looks on the inside. Gargiulo had a nice high-to-high goal on Wilkin to perhaps rattle his confidence a little bit, so the game's a bit closer.
Radomski, Durnin, shuffle pass inside. But again, all over it that time is Budis, or rather Jafaris, for Mount Sinai.
Ricky Geyer is lucky he didn't get called for a ward there.
Grass skimmer, that time well off the mark for Radomski, backed up, though, by Geyer. And I want to see Massapequa continue to use Hayden Christie here. He's been a difference maker as a distributor.
One of the fastest midfielders on Long Island, certainly in Nassau County. And again, he's had 2 really nice assists recently. He could facilitate very well.
Has the ball right now. Trying to go to work on Brett Spallina, harassing him with that long stick. Christie ducking inside and out. He's done a nice job simplifying his game this year, finding ways to leverage his speed and not get in his own way. Michael Durnin's been fairly quiet, their leader in points on the season, 14 goals, 16 assists. Burrowing in, but unable to find room. Bernie, extra pass. Here's Durnin right on cue, putting it in.
Really nice ball movement by Massapequa, and good recognition by Michael Durnin to read the angle of that shooting opportunity well, utilize angles and levels, and know that Jake Spallina had his back turned a little bit, to the extent that he might have been a little bit of a screen at the end. Again, does a good job setting up his shot, planting his feet, and beats Wilkin High, which is not easy to do. Gargiulo did that earlier in the game as well, and we're back within 3, Gavin.
Yeah, but what stood out to me there was Durnin had a great sense of exactly how much time he had, getting that shot off right before Jake Spallina closed in. Speaking of which, Spallina, you may have heard this before, winning the faceoff. So the lead back down to 3 after Mount Sinai had extended it out to 5 once again.
Enzo Barranca now helping facilitate the stick change for Spallina.
But this is the one barrier that Massapequa has yet to break since the opening about 3-4 minutes of this ball game. They have not been closer than 3 goals. Need a stop here to achieve it. Instead, a bouncer deflected. Oh, that could have been the chance. Racing to ensure that it still can be is Wieserak, batting it around. Ball still up for grabs. Malahi, though, able to run it down and get the scoop. Extra pass, Spallina. LaForge open for a second. Backing him up is Marsala.
Enzo Barranca lost his starting position to Nick Coretta. Barranca getting some playing time here. He had a good opportunity to turn the corner there and make a better pass. So you really want to see number 36 take advantage of his minutes a little bit more. Coach Drum said he might go a little bit deeper, considering this being a cross-county, out-of-league game. But Barranca has seen significant minutes before and gives Nick Coretta a little bit relief as Mount Sinai offense. There's a different look at the Chiefs.
Yeah, Mount Sinai, a couple blowouts is your couple chances to build up that depth, but no one doing quite enough yet to beat out any of the starters, and that's why Cole Antonio, that was a beauty, low to high. Gennady never had a shot at it.
You're a big basketball guy, Gavin, right? Triangle offense, it's exactly what they did there. Really great movement and an unbelievable elevator shot by Christian Cole Antonio to get his first goal of the game. So you see where the triangle comes in. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. They're rotating. Different angle of the triangle. Cole Antonio in a really nice position. Beautiful elevator shot to bring that from the ground floor to the penthouse right under the crossbar.
Cole Antonio, the Marist commit, and I thought it was interesting. You know, we like to get superlatives from all the coaches before this game, and it's rare that you hear that the same player has the hardest shot and the most accurate. Usually it's tough to keep that speed and maintain accuracy. Cole Antonio able to do both, a special finisher.
Another win by Spallina, opposed to pinching and popping. He actually dragged that out to the backside and let Malahi scoop that up. Mount Sinai wins another faceoff and possesses regardless.
And again, it has to just be so deflating if you're Massapequa, right? You get to that 3-goal barrier. 2 goals is where maybe Mount Sinai starts sweating a little bit. They just haven't been able to break through. So Mount Sinai taking their time. LaForge, a fake, a bouncer. Cole Antonio will reset up top. Marsala has been so dangerous on these wings. And there's Marsala, too tall. And Mount Sinai keeps the ball.
Nice over-the-top look there by Barranca. Just missed the mark there on the shot. Barranca has the backup and bring it back in here.
LaForge has been quiet in the second half. You know who hasn't? Cole Marsala, a turn and a score. And then Massapequa has gotten close on the scoreboard, but it just feels like whenever Mount Sinai wants, they could find another goal.
Yeah, Massapequa really just can't allow that opportunity on the inside. As you see, Lucas LaForge and Cole Marsala operate together. Marsala starts the dodge on the perimeter. And again, LaForge started the dodge on the perimeter, and then Marsala had all the time and room in the world to bring that pass in and turn and shoot in one motion and beat Gennady.
And for Marsala, came into this game averaging right around 2 goals per game on the season, now up to 4 on the day. Couple of assists, too.
First face-off win of the day for Massapequa, but doesn't last very long.
And it was Jack Prudente that time, so maybe that's enough to warrant Mike Draper's decision to go to him. I'm a little surprised. I wonder maybe if he got nicked up a little bit that they went away from Aiden Stanton so quickly. Again, someone that Coach Draper really talked up coming into this game.
Again, Aiden Stanton is only a face-off specialist. He's not a two-way midi, and when you're losing like that, it's a liability to have him on the defensive side of the field. And a
flag flies in. So it'll be a man-up situation for Massapequa with a little over 3 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Looks like it's going to be a hold on Brett Spallina.
So not only are you a man down if you're Mount Sinai, you're down your best man.
Yeah. Again, he's most effective on the man down, considering his ability to cover the field and replace spaces so much. So this is really a special man-up opportunity for the Chiefs.
1 for 2 on these chances is Massapequa on the game. Cutting in, quick shot. Wow, great reaction time by Wilkin to deny Bernie.
Bernie's been quiet today, hasn't he? That was a nice man-up play to find the open cutter coming down the alley.
Yeah, Bernie, we should note, 14 goals on the season, tied for second on this Massapequa team with Michael Durnan. Quick shot, the freshman Burns got some heat on it, but again, Wilkin, great positioning.
Finally, we see Burns show a lack of hesitation when looking to set up his shot. Sadly, he just doesn't get that through, and we're back to even strength.
It's been a tough day, a learning experience for the freshman so far, who, again, and you talked to Mike Draper, he has a ceiling as high or higher than anyone else in this Massapequa program.
Durden has the matchup with the short stick Cole Antonio, but Aiden Christie's going to initiate here for sure.
Uses this screen from Bernie. Little pick and pop. Bernie turning, firing, deflected out. Mount Sinai had it for a moment. Ground ball. Mount Sinai has won essentially every one of these ground ball scrambles so far in this game. And looks like they're going to get another here as a big hit from Aiden Christie. We'll actually keep it with Massapequa.
Good ride. Good job there by Massapequa to put the pressure on the Mount Sinai defense. Mount Sinai looking a little bit confused as they recover in off the restart.
Yeah, Massapequa, it looked initially like Bernie was just going to be able to charge it and shoot. It was a late slide to deny him a wide-open cage. As we are back to even strength now. Pass in. Unable to corral it that time is Geyer. And now Mount Sinai will get the ball back.
That was a bad drop by Burns to not bring that in. Moving screen on the loose ball, so Mount Sinai will repossess. But if you're Coach Draper and you're giving Ricky Geyer some time off the bench and you see him make a mistake like that, Geyer's lucky to be still on the field right now.
Yeah, this is a Massapequa team that, I mean, you could talk about in just about any sport they play. Never lack for depth, never lack for options. I mean, it's similar to places like Mount Sinai in a typical year, not this year, Garden City, Manhasset. It just breeds this culture of competition that feels like Massapequa thrives on in all their sports. So final minute, third quarter. A lead that got down to 3, now back up to 5 goals in favor of Mount Sinai. Massapequa was pushed and pushed and pushed, but just unable to break through and really put some pressure on the Mustangs.
Mount Sinai is going to take their time here. Sun's coming out. The weather's getting warmer again. These guys have been running around a lot, haven't gone really too deep into the bench. So this is, again, when you're thinking about workload and preserve as we get later in the day and the weather becomes a little bit more of a factor.
Spalina, Malahi. And unable to fit the pass-throughs. Marsala skims out of play with just 3 seconds left on the clock. And Mount Sinai may be taking a little bit too much time. Colantonio will just rip one. Giannotti will notch another save, and that'll do it for the first 3 quarters. Mount Sinai leads by 5. 12 minutes to decide it. Can the Chiefs find a late run? We'll find out next on the Varsity Media Sports Network.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media.
Now is the time to order a college recruiting video with Varsity Media. College recruiting videos can save thousands of dollars on college tuition and help land a spot on the team. Our videos include your best plays set to music with spot shadowing effects to help you stand out from the competition. Contact Varsity Media today and mention this ad to save 15%. Call 516-403-2050 or email jeff@varsitymedia.net.
And a look at Massapequa's huddle. Mike Draper trying to fire his guys up. I mean, Dave, in your experience, what's a coach saying in this situation where you've had some good moments, but again, you just haven't really been able to break through as a team?
I mean, it's a 5-goal game going into the fourth quarter. It doesn't take long to put 5 in the back of the net. They've scored in spurts, but ultimately they've been sloppy on the clear. They've let Mount Sinai take advantage of offensive situations off the draw. So really, you really have to continue to strategize around Jake Spalina and the way that he's been able to affect Mount Sinai's ability to possess the ball. And again, you need to have offensive strategies that separates Brett Spalina so you could get scoring opportunities to make this a closer game in the fourth quarter. And
there's a bit of pressure on Massapequa, at least just from an overall record perspective. Obviously a non-league game, but you see just so many tough ones coming up. Southside, that's going to be on the Varsity Media Sports Network this Monday. East Meadow, and then a game against Northport April 29th. That'll be on the Varsity Media Sports Network. And then they'll travel to take on Port Washington for a crucial Class A showdown. 2 teams that you'd expect with Farmingdale and Syosset to be there at the end of the season, as they are at the end of seemingly every season in Class A in Nassau County, as Jake Spalina avenges his lone face-off L of the day.
You'll see Mount Sinai slow things down here in the fourth quarter. Spalina gets his stick from Barranca. Barranca's going to sub off. Colantonio is going to hold it and take some air out of the ball right now. Barranca gets his stick from Jake Furrer off the bench, and we're back to 6-on-6 lacrosse.
Tristan Malahi's been relatively quiet from a scoring perspective, coming off one of his most productive statistical games of the season. Had 2 goals and an assist in their domination of Islip.
Malahi just played well defensively today, though.
Wieserak chasing. One of the few guys not to hit the turf yet, trying to guard Cole Marsala, risking it right now, battling hard, and locking down the Quinnipiac commit.
Yeah, Wieserak wins that battle, avoids getting put on skates.
It's a tough life for defenders, right? Because nobody goes ooh and ah when you stop an attacking player.
Right.
And then when an attacking player drops a defender, it's like, oh, he got him.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a lose-lose situation. But you know what? Mike Draper is going to appreciate that on film.
Yeah.
So LaForge, the Michigan commit top 50 player in the country in the junior class, drops it off. And then a heater to pay it off from Jake Spallina, his fourth. And the lead extended to 6 for Mount Sinai.
Spallina has 2 goals with his face-off stick. He gets his second goal of the day with the piece of equipment that he likes to play offense with more. Really good job here as Lucas LaForge sets this up. Really patient as he dodges and re-dodges on Fiola. Massapequa defense gets a little antsy, slides off Spallina, and he has enough room to fire from the outside.
A Michigan to Syracuse connection, and with that assist, maybe he's already done it, but Lucas LaForge passes his assist total from a year ago. And an infraction on the faceoff will give possession to Massapequa, so they get their second win of the day. But perhaps too late, down by 6 goals now, with under 10.5 minutes to go. Mike Draper said he talked to his kids after last season, and he said, look, they wanted as difficult of a schedule as humanly possible, and Coach Draper has reminded them this year, hey, you wanted it, now you got it. They're dealing with the repercussions of it, but perhaps those will be progressions by the end of the year.
Great job here by the clear, sparked by Jafaris, who will continue to run over the 50.
And Cole Antonio dispossessed from behind by Aiden Christie. Did a nice job chasing there, but now Mount Sinai, again, can just get into their offense, sit back, take their time, and I wouldn't be surprised if probably a couple minutes from now you don't see Harold Drum start getting into his bench.
Based on our discussions, he said that Mark Schreiber, Brett Oppenheim, James Millen, and Barranca would be likely the only players to see significant minutes off the bench today. 6-goal game, 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We'll see if it plays out and some other guys get an opportunity to touch the field. But, again, you can't leave yourself too vulnerable. Massapequa does have the ability to strike back, and with 8:50 left and 6 goals, it's still a ball game.
And I think you made a great point earlier. Mount Sinai does such a good job of managing their own energy, and that is inexcusable for Massapequa. You talked about him a lot. Enzo Barranca getting on the board maybe a little bit easier than he would have expected.
Mount Sinai really just rocked the Massapequa defense to sleep. Barranca was naked on the crease for that finish. Again, we weren't even sure if Barranca was going to get into this game. He was doing a little bit of work earlier, exchanging sticks for Spallina, but now he gets more involved. Completely left on alone. That's on Aiden Christie. He was sloughing up to Cole Antonio, left Barranca open, and obviously Cole Marsala is going to make him pay.
And that could give Barranca a little bit more confidence. You noted losing his starting job earlier this year, and you know, Massapequa, Mount Sinai, you said the goal is a state championship run. You need some depth at some point, whether it's an injury or someone not playing well, but to play at that kind of level, generally, it's going to take more than your first 12 to 14 guys.
Good ground ball there by Brett Spallina to help get another face-off win for Mount Sinai. Again, offensively, Shea Millay, he has been a little bit quiet, but he's doing the little things right today. He's getting key ground balls. He's the open man on the clear. He's definitely been a key part of why Mount Sinai has been able to hold on to leads so long, even though he hasn't necessarily contributed to the stat sheet.
He's a senior who waited a long time to get onto the field. I noted this earlier, but didn't really get to go in depth on it again. It wasn't just Joey Spallina. This team was very deep a year ago. Right? You had James Coretta, who's at Georgetown. You had Dylan Seguider, who's at Syracuse. Mike Trepida at Johns Hopkins. Austin Oppenheim, who was good enough to beat out Jake Spallina at faceoff a year ago. Now at Albany.
Good job by Fiola there to once again get his stick in the lane and disrupt Mount Sinai's ball movement.
And racing away with it, Ryan Fountain, who boasts a lot of speed, but not crossing midfield, instead leaving it off for Michael Durnan to do some work. And for Massapequa, are these 7 minutes? I know you noted still a lot of time left, but is it just kind of about getting some reps, building some confidence against an elite defense?
Now you got to go to the goal quickly and try to win the game. It might be far-fetched, but you can't give up.
So Radomski tagged right now by Cole Antonio. Durnan again has been held in check throughout this one, currently with Jafaris and Budis teaming up to chase him out. It's a zone look for Mount Sinai. They've been playing it for the last 8 years. They got torched about 8 seasons ago. As that shot off the mark, Wilkin doing all he can to cover it up.
Shot went on the outside of the goal. Wilkin was trying to possess it in the crease. Looks like they're going to give Massapequa the ball at Exeter on the right wing here. So perhaps Mount Sinai pushed Massapequa player in the crease. That's going to be the deduction I make.
It's good to know it was about 8 years ago, got torched playing man-to-man against Shore and Wading River. Ever since then, Harold Drum's been his own guy, and it's worked out pretty well for Mount Sinai over the years. So here's a run, a shot off the mark from Will Burney.
And again, that zone defense plays to the strength of his best defensive player, Brett Spallina, who again, as we've said so many times in this game, a big part of his pedigree as he was coached by his uncle Brian, who played this exact same style when he was a long stick midi at Hofstra.
That was a good look, but Gargiulo couldn't handle it.
But that zone defense lets Brett Spallina play to his strengths, extend out on the field. And looks like we're going to have a man opportunity for Massapequa, perhaps a timely one. And it's going to be a slash on Brett Spallina. So this is now the second time where Massapequa is going to have a man-up opportunity where Mount Sinai's best, most agile, most pertinent man-down weapon is going to be taken off the field. So they really better make something of this.
If I remember correctly, weren't able to last time when Spallina went out. I thought for a second you were going to say his Brettigree, and I was going to really appreciate the pun there. But yeah, it's cool. You didn't have to go that direction.
I was just fumbling over my lips there.
You know, maybe if the lead gets over 7, then we'll get to that level of puns. Kim Burns, the star freshman, has been a little quiet. This might be a good opportunity for him. And instead, Mount Sinai again able to take it away. Jafaris lost the ball. An illicit check for Mount Sinai. Oh, no, a timeout, excuse me. Taken by the Mustangs. Good call by Harold Drum. And same as last time, they get the ball back. Now an opportunity to waste this clock as we'll take a break. 5:36 to go in the fourth quarter. Mount Sinai with the ball in control, up by 7 goals.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming schedules and content, and on social media at Varsity Media.
Varsity Media offers live sportscasts for any event. Our productions include announcers, multiple camera angles, graphics, instant replay, and so much more.
Hankinson getting it back. Hankinson going in, dropping it back. The shot of the goal! That's it! That's it! Norton! Pittsburgh, the Class A champions!
If you want to enhance your event or make the experience better for your viewers, reach out to Varsity Media today and learn more about our live sportscast. Contact Varsity Media at 516-403-2050 or email ben@varsitymedia.net.
Comswag is one of them, yes.
So we are back. 5:36 to go in the fourth quarter. Mount Sinai up 13-6, and maybe that last play a little bit emblematic of some of Massapequa's struggles this year. To your point, second time in a row, no Brett Spallina, golden opportunity, as good as you could get if you're Massapequa, and second time they are unable to convert on that chance.
Yep. Coach Drum able to call a timeout, draw up a play on the clear here to waste some clock. You see they have Wilkin out of the net because he's very agile and can handle the ball well. They might get called for a failure in advance if they don't get over the 52 quickly. But, again, that was a good timeout, and it seems like the Mustangs have a good strategy to break the ride.
And, man, that was a great pass right there. To me, that's what made that clearance, and another one, but it was Jafaris on the initial pass. Now an opportunity to get a shorthanded goal. Really wanting it was Cole Antonio, but just missed the cage.
Great exchange there between Marsala and Cole Antonio. Kind of reminded me of Peyton Manning and Austin Collie back in the day.
Man, you and the Colts references every time we do a broadcast.
Peyton Manning was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah,
Eli Manning was too, but at any rate, Cole Antonio went up there to bring the ball down like Dallas Clark or Austin Collie, and then found that alley to the goal underneath and just shot it wide. But again, Mount Sinai had the backup. They'll retain possession as they continue to kill this penalty. So a good possession shot. And again, usually when you're man down and you have an offensive possession, you really just want to hold on to it and milk clock. But sometimes there's a good thing as a solid missed shot in order to keep holding on to it.
I just like that 90% of the people watching have no idea what you're talking about, but the 10% who do are freaking out right now. They're like, yes, Dallas Clark, Austin Collie.
I really dated myself for sure. Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, BYU legend, Austin Collie. On that happy note, Mount Sinai going to try and kill some more clock here. LaForge had that distribution ability we've seen in this game at the club level, playing against kids his own age when he kind of got to be the star. Didn't totally get to show it with Joey Spallina here, but kind of the same thing for him as we talked about with Marsala. That's an element of his game. And if nothing else, Mount Sinai has become a little bit more unpredictable this year. They can beat you from so many different spots. Cole Antonio, one of those spots. Fired high, deflected, backed up by Barranca.
Again, Mount Sinai will retain possession. Manhasset ultimately had a strategy there to try to completely shut off Cole Antonio with Prudente, but they let Cole Antonio get the ball regardless, and you see how he was able to maneuver.
Spallina going to work up top. Looking like his brother there, drawing the double team, dumping it off. Oh, what a find inside Cole Antonio, and the diving finish by LaForge. The cherry on top from the Michigan commit.
Hail to the victors, valiant hail. Really unselfish play there by Cole Antonio. He had a great opportunity to grip it and rip it, but he has great vision to make that extra pass inside. This is the goal earlier by Enzo Barranca that Cole Antonio had assist on as well, so he continues to tally up the apples, and the Michigan man, Lucas LaForge, completes the hat trick.
Spaced them out well, too. First goal of the game, fifth goal of the game, now the 14th for Mount Sinai. And, man, maybe it is the fact that they have, again, a relatively thin team, and these guys have so much time to build chemistry, but there's just an inherent unselfishness to this Mount Sinai program. I mean, you said at that time extra pass. It feels like all these guys like to make the extra pass, prefer the assist to the goal.
Maybe that's something that Joey Spallina left behind. As that was a big part of his game as he racked up wild assist numbers over the course of his career. But, again, Mount Sinai has a versatile offense. Cole Antonio is a great outside shooter, but in a man-up opportunity for him to have the intelligence to hedge the shot that he had to the inside look to LaForge, obviously he made the right decision.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Look, it's such a win, right, for any college program to get a kid coming out of Mount Sinai, and I think it's a great point on Joey Spallina. He's a guy, if he had really wanted to, probably could have had a 120-goal season, maybe set a record in that respect, and that it never felt like that was his goal. Like, he thrived on drawing 2 or 3 defenders and giving himself the challenge of, like, all right, how am I going to set someone else up for success? And doing the same at Syracuse right now, already the 5th leading scorer in the NCAA in terms of points per game. And Massapequa will get a chance to notch at least one more if they can hold onto the ball. But again, a sloppy clearance hurts the Mustangs. But they'll won't pay for it here, as unable to corral the loose ball was Buddhist that time. Fake. A little slip inside from Bernie. But, man, Mount Sinai closes well on the interior. It's been a theme all game. Nothing doing that time for Ricky Geyer. And now racing with a chance to answer LaForge. The pump. Now he'll go a bouncer. He wanted one more. 4th goal of the ball game for the Star Junior.
Kevin Connery, the head coach at Michigan, obviously is going to like watching some of the tape for his game from this game. Coach Connery, also a Long Island native, Holy Trinity grad from Rockville Center. Textbook fast break here, sparked by Spallina, finds LaForge right there at the point. LaForge takes the extra step in and finishes off his 4th goal of the day. Mount Sinai up 15-6 with 2 minutes left now, where
Yeah, Michigan, man, they love their Long Island kids. Also have C.J. Riley from Cold Spring Harbor heading there. So, I mean, him and LaForge, fun to think about that 3 years down the line.
Coaches recruit where they grew up. I mean, that's like something that you're just ultimately going to see, especially in a school like Michigan where they're not necessarily in a Midwestern hotbed to recruit from. You're going to see coaches go back to their roots to find players to come to their schools.
Yeah, and it's appealing, right? I mean, to kids growing up on Long Island, a chance to go to one of the premier schools in the country.
Brett Oppenheim wins the faceoff there for Mount Sinai. Jacob Spalina finally getting a break here in the last 2 minutes. 4 goals, pretty much 98% at the stripe. I think he had a good day. But, again, the day and the weekend is not over for the Spalina family. Father Joe is coaching the women's team at Stony Brook against Towson. Older brother Joey, who we've discussed, Syracuse playing Virginia and Charlottesville today. And, of course, you have the twins taking on Massapequa. Alexa is a sophomore here at Mount Sinai and a star for the girls' team. They have a game tomorrow. I was speaking to Joe, and I said, so who runs the house when you and your wife are on the road? Is Uncle Brian stopping by? I know your parents are local. He's like, honestly, my daughter Alexa pretty much runs the roost there.
And she's an incredibly talented player in her own right.
She might be the best Spalina.
It's a high bar. Final minute. Massapequa picks up a flag, likely will not matter at this point.
Connor Enright going to get called from the push from behind. I think that's a weak call at this juncture of the game, but I guess the referee's just wanting to set a safe precedent as this one winds down, and it's pretty much closing itself out with Mount Sinai taking it by 9.
You know, you credit Massapequa as much as they're, I'm sure, frustrated by their performance. I mean, a willingness for Mike Draper to schedule games where it has this potential where you could lose by 8 or 9 goals. Again, playing a Chaminade, playing a Bayport Blue Point, playing a Staples, one of the best teams in Connecticut, and this year in the country,
Aquinas,
beating Scarsdale, nearly beating St. Thomas Aquinas, a powerhouse out of Florida. This team, if nothing else, will be extremely battle-tested come playoff time.
And their quest for an undefeated season and a Class C title continues.
The Mustangs, their run of dominance continues. No more than 1 loss in each of the last 4 seasons. They have yet to have their first, a 15-6 decimation of Massapequa. Dave, what are your takeaways from getting to see these two teams in person? I know Mount Sinai the second time for you.
I think that Mount Sinai executed their game plan almost to perfection. They paced their offense differently over the course of the game in order to give their personnel the rest that they needed, but also to keep within their strategy. We saw them play very well on the man down and get some experience with Brett Spalina off the field as he, out of character, took 2 penalties today. And I think that Massapequa just needs to rebound, kind of look back on their win against Syosset and figure out the things that they did right here. Learn from this game, look back at the tape, and I think, Will Burney was a little bit quiet today offensively. I think he's going to come out firing in the next game with a little bit of vengeance, and despite the score, I think that Gennady actually played pretty well and is continuing on an upward trajectory, but again, this Massapequa team has a hard schedule. This was certainly a part of it, and they still have a chance to do really, really strongly in Class A, and as discussed, Mount Sinai really trying to make a name for themselves on a state level in Class C.
We noted it for Massapequa. No rest for the wary. They play Southside on Monday. You can check that out on the Varsity Media Sports Network. And then one I'm really excited for, I'll be on the call for it again, April 29th at Northport. So Massapequa, the challenges continue. They'll continue to improve under Mike Draper, a great coach. Mount Sinai undefeated. And we want to thank our entire crew today, executive producer Ben Turchin, our technical director Ron Pierre on camera, the fantastic Becca Kaziks, and of course Michael Scrow making his debut, and I'm Gavin Shaw alongside our partner Dave Franklin, and we are signing off here from Mount Sinai High School.